So my name is Andras Delczeg. I am a small business owner since 2008 when I founded a company named Real Life Ltd in Târgu Mureș. And we have specialized in business innovation and automation, basically for sales, stocks management, and invoicing. And I've been invited to this event to hold a presentation about digitalization in business. And I hope to be successful in this area. The first example I would say is matusinka online, which is actually the first step in digitalization. I think newspapers started first about 10 years ago with content being online, available to everyone. And I think this is the most important thing about the internet, that it brings information closer to the people and closer to the users. And in businesses, it brings suppliers and the clients together so they can connect more easily. Unfortunately, this eliminates a lot of human work, which actually people have less jobs this way. Like, for example, in our business, we provide synchronizing sales from any website to a single platform, where we keep all the stocks in a single place online. And from one interface, you can see every sale you made, every stock you ever bought, from who, when, for how much. You have alerts when prices change, prices go up or down. And practically today, a small business owner has the tools to see everything at his fingertips about his business. And I would start with a few data when we started. I started in 2009 with the idea of creating an invoicing software online. And the biggest challenge in the first 3 years was that it was online. Now the biggest challenge is that something is not online. So there was a huge change in the business market, actually. And we started with actually with the idea I had to issue an invoice to one of my clients. I started creating websites at the time. And after the first invoice that I created in Microsoft Doc, I said I'm not going to issue any more invoices. And I started writing an invoicing software, which I was actually lazy, writing invoices by hand. And this was a big motivation for me that I started alone. I didn't have anyone else to rely on, so I had to automate myself and started writing software for myself that helped me provide the services that I was providing, issue invoices. I started selling hosting, which also required issuing invoices automatically every year. And there were a lot of tasks that could be automated, and doing it by hand was prone to mistakes and not issuing invoices on time and not receiving the income that was supposed to be received, and the different problems were presented. Also, about 8 years ago, when I was talking with someone about implementing a software for digitalizing, like not selling by hand and keeping the stocks in one place, most business owners were shocked that now they have to enter everything into one system. You could not sell on the black market anymore. If you bought a table or a chair and you had to sell it, you had to have it registered in the stocks management system, and then you could follow every single sale, and you could have control about theft. Employees who were taking home stuff actually disappeared because you could do an inventory at any time you want, and you could follow very easily with such a system how your business is growing, what is happening, what is needed, how much you have to invest in what area. So actually, digitalizing a business means that you invest in software, any software, not just our software, any software that can help you do more with a computer and do less by hand is a step towards digitalization. Which, from what I see even today, very few businessmen actually understand that they need to invest in automating the sales. They need to invest in automating everything in a business. And if there's not their own activity from which they make money, they need to externalize it. Very few businessmen understand that if you want to do an event, you don't have to buy a camera and film it yourself. You should pay for someone else to do it, because they can do it much better than you can ever do one thing. You cannot do everything in the same level, at the same level of quality. And it is very important that even today, from what I see, very many clients come to us and asks, one of the first question is how much? And our prices, for example, were always small to middle range companies. So we always try to have an affordable product for local companies who didn't have the funds to buy a 10,000 or 100,000 euro software. And still the main problem is that paying 100 euros, for example, for any software a month seems a lot of money for many businessmen. Whereas paying for an employee is at least 1,000 euro per month. And if you already have three employees, usually paying for 100 euro software actually adds 2 more employees to your staff, because they make mistakes, they cannot follow what they do, you don't have a task management system. And actually the next step would be, for especially in Romanian markets, for businessmen to understand that they need to invest in themselves to learn how they can use such tools, which is the second problem. First problem is they don't understand they need to invest in IT, or if they invest in IT, they spend tens of thousands of euros for sites, which could be done by 1,000 euros or 2,000 euros. You can have any site probably made with a reasonable price. Very few sites cost tens or 20,000 euros, which I have seen clients spend actually for a custom site, doing everything from zero, and then abandoning everything because they found out that there was a free option alternative, which they only had to pay for someone to install it, configure it, install a theme, and have a beautiful website in a week. And you don't have to pay for everything from ground up. On the other side, when you have to buy an ERP or an enterprise relationship management software, you do not buy something free, you do not get something free, you have to invest in that, because usually when you want to systematize your business, you want to have systems, you need to understand the flows, when where your sales come from, what your suppliers are. You need to understand where you can automate, and you need to use your employees to actually use their abilities for what they can do best, not doing cheap invoicing work or calling clients for invoices when they could be doing something much more important that could bring you more money. So actually one needs to understand the investment value in IT, get a few quotes from other companies as well, not just go to the first one, and especially when doing a website. That's the first step, I think, in the life of a small company, that you actually create a website. Usually each client has had one website which was a total failure, and then understood that what needed to be asked the second time when he was doing the second website, unless he was lucky to working with someone who cared enough to actually do a good job. But usually small businesses cannot afford someone who knows what the website is about and how it should look like and what it should say. So what about digitalizing? For me, it meant having systems. You know the book, Work the System. Probably you heard about it. I heard about it, but I haven't read it. However, I read the back cover, which was enough to understand that you need to build systems in the business, not work with people. Every business should have a system that works in itself. You should document it, flows in the business, where the funds come from, where they go. You should have systems for everything, which means if there is an order coming in, you should have a procedure for how you treat that order, who handles it, if that person is on leave, on vacation, who else covers that job. You should have a system for everything. That way, even if your whole company leaves, every one of your staff, you still have your systems well documented. And you just need to hire new staff, not buy. And with this, actually software can help. You can have your systems, actually each IT software that you can implement at, even the simplest invoicing software is a good system. Because whenever you are on the planet, you can issue an invoice, you can see if someone paid their invoice, you can see how much they owe you. You can see how you're doing in the current month, in the past month. You can compare your sales to past sales, past years. Even the simplest of invoicing software can do this, which is you can buy it for €5 from almost anyone. There's about 10 good invoicing software on the market today in Romania, built by Romanians for Romanians, which is important. So every small company should start with a good invoicing software and then build from what depends on what the activity is. If they have a web shop, they should invest in, early on, they should invest in a small ERP, which is a software which tracks their stocks, so they don't rely on the accountant to tell them how the month is going or how the year is going. My accountant never told me how the year was going. As an entrepreneur, this was a challenge, especially because usually the accountant tells you how much money you have, but where is that money? I never have the money that my accountant says I have. Usually the accountant books differ very much from how the month is going. Usually business owners are preoccupied with cash flow and knowing how much money they have, how much can they spend, how much can they invest. The accountant usually cares about everything being okay. If there is a control from everyone, the company is being checked, so legally you are covered. And it's not the job of the accountant to think about the future of the business or how the investments should go. But it's the job of the business owner actually to dream the dream and live the dream and make it real. And systems actually help do this, especially for small businesses. If you want an example of systems, you can have the franchise business, where you can buy a franchise which comes ready with what you need to do, even tells you what kind of furniture you need to buy, what color it has to be, where the distance has to be between the chairs, where the chairs could go and where everything must go. This is a good system which started working, and many people realized that it's better to invest in a franchise, for example, for 10,000, 2,000 euros, and have a business ready than try by yourself to do something and work the systems out yourself when that might not be successful, because you don't have the experience of buying a franchise, for example, gives you all the documentation and the investment that all others already made. You only need to buy the thing and implement it and use it. So it's a good business model, but it's also not for everyone. It's not for me. I like to invent stuff when I'm doing it. I, for example, hate having a predetermined set of rules for how I need to run my business. I always try to have in my own company an atmosphere of home, and unknowingly, when I did a hiring of a new staff member, usually the first filter was the sympathy, if there was a connection. It wasn't important if he had a degree, if he had knowledge. It didn't matter what he did. Usually, for example, I had to hire someone for marketing and sales. I ended up hiring 5 people. I still don't have a salesperson in the company because everyone became something else. Somehow, they came to me. We ended up, I hired them for the job of calling clients' offers and answering the phone and having someone who can sell. Well, no one can sell yet in my company because one was better at the small stuff, the details of all the papers being at the right place, and the other was better at tech support and answering people's technical questions. The other one was better at creating tutorials or something. So actually, it's also very important, which also has to do with digitalization. If you have a good system in place and your workplace is digitalized somewhat, like you have a task management system, you have even if you have an email system or an internal chat system, can help a lot. People can actually develop their skills, and as a small entrepreneur, you have to focus on people's skills and understanding their needs and what they need to do and what they can do better, and have them do what they like, because they have a much better performance that way, instead of just having them do a repetitive task every single day that a program could do or a computer could do. It's much better to have staff who like coming to work and like what they do, and spend the time doing more important things that actually bring more income for the future than having them do repetitive tasks and paying a salary. Like cheap clients who I've seen, we even asked for 10 euros for a small thing, and it was so much money. And they didn't understand that if they did that thing, the same thing, they chose to do it by hand instead of paying like 30 euros for a small option in the software. And I never understood how they can think doing clicks every single day for a year, how much time that would take and how much money that costs for them, versus paying 30 euros for a small option that frees you from ever doing the same thing again. This is wine or water? It is wine. Thanks. Any questions so far? Or feedback? People are smiling, which is a good feedback. Thank you. 7. We. Târgu Mureș. 2008. That's when I started creating the software for invoicing. I started the company in 2008. And actually, I didn't know what to do. I started with the company, and I asked all my friends, okay, now I have a company, what should I do? And somehow, the demand was that I created websites. This is what I had to learn how to create websites. I had the tendency. It was in my knowledge domain that IT stuff and everything. But at that time, the IT person did everything, installing Windows and creating a website and cabling and absolutely everything. And my intention always was to create myself a Smith system. My plan was to have monthly income, having a subscription-based service, not having to sell a website every single month. Like for 2 years, I think, we created one website after the other. We had months when we created 9 websites in a month. And every month, when we actually finished the job, was a new problem, new websites. Who are the clients, where the clients come from, having clients, which usually one recommended the other, and it was always coming one after the other, but it was always a headache ensuring that there was new income coming. So the plan was to have a subscription-based service, which means that we create a website and sell a subscription for maintenance on that website to actually ensure that the site is up and everything is working. But for websites, you cannot ask for so much money because usually if you create a good website, it actually works. You don't have much to do unless you break the website somehow. But with the invoicing software, people started asking for solutions like issuing fiscal receipts. So we ended up creating also an interface where you can scan the products you sell and have the receipt come out on the other end and automate that way, which is was connected directly to the web shop. So all the orders are now actually connected to the same stocks management, where you can purchase like for 10,000 pieces of any product, and you can sell it offline, and you can sell it online from the same system. And you have an overview of everything that is happening. Different reports we can generate, for example, which is the power of digitalization. This is the point. I was speaking about my business because I can present my own viewpoint. I don't have a degree to teach others about how to digitalize, but I think my experience is the base for others to also start thinking about what's important in investing and actually investing in IT, in businesses.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a solution for, let's say, you get an invoice with like 10, 15 items or so, and do you have to type in those items to your stock management?
We have a solution.
How do
We
you
can,
automate
if
that?
you have the invoice in Excel, we can actually copy paste the contents and do the reception.
Okay, but my supplier, I don't know, it has the capabilities to send me the invoice in Excel, or I don't know.
It depends on the case. We implement new solutions. Usually each client who comes to us comes with 10 extra requests. So we tend to have fewer clients, but we take more care of them. We have about 1,000 clients right now for the system. In 10 years, that's not a lot, but every client was actually with a lot, like 2 months work to implement the system at the beginning. I've seen some competitors have a solution to scan the invoice and do a recognition of the texts. But I'm not sure how much that works. It depends also on the invoice, how it's constructed. There is an interesting thing which is not used in Romania yet. There is a few people know there is a standardized international format for invoicing. Similar with banks. You can issue an invoice and there is an ISO format how that invoice should look like, which you could attach to any email that you send the invoice out from. And then any software could just import that file and you can have the invoice in your system. How, unfortunately, very few people even know that this format exists, nor did they implement it. And also there's another thing now, the state is starting to implement an invoicing system where if you invoice to an official institution, you will have to use their platform to issue an invoice. And it's most probably going to be also teleported or transported into the private sector, where similarly in Hungary, they have a fixed invoicing system that if you issue an invoice, you have to immediately send it to the government. Probably we'll also have a standardized national invoicing system with a standardized format. And if that's going to come probably in a year, then it's going to be much easier to import suppliers' invoices because they will have to upload the invoice in a digital format and then you can just receive the format. Yeah. Martin.
What are the trending changes new companies are asking about your software these years? What are they looking for?
They are looking for simplicity in design and usability of the soft, which we actually do not have. It's a software which started in 2009 when there were no platforms for interfaces and UX. I have to work with W to ask him for advice on how. This is actually the challenge today, because if you start a business, you don't have the know-how of how stuff should work. Our first effort is when someone comes to us for a solution, we have to educate them on what it means to keep stocks, that you actually have to keep stocks, that new entrepreneurs don't know what they just want to start a web shop and start selling. They have no idea what it means to have a software that can automate things. They do not see the challenge is that they do not see the necessity of having such a software. Usually, I would compare to 5 years ago, or even for maybe 8 years ago better. If you wanted to start a company, you would need to invest in a space. You needed to have at least 10 or 20,000 euros to invest in stocks, in products to sell. And you had to pay for branding, for recognition, for marketing, for newsletters, physical newsletters, not just online newsletters, to make yourself known. Your business was very much local. Now you can start a business with 100 euros, practically. You can have in a week, if you file all the papers, you can have a business filed in a week. However, nobody teaches you what you need to do. And the challenge is usually when a person comes to us, usually they understand that they need some sort of software that can help them. And the challenge is actually teaching them what that software can do, because our problem is that we do too many things. And the interface does a lot of things. We have companies who have 100 sales per day, companies who have 200 sales per day. We have companies who have 10,000 products in their portfolio and who have 1 million records of sales per line overall in just 2 or 3 years. And we have companies who have 50 products and issue 2 or 3 invoices per day, or issue 2 invoices per week. And there's a very big difference between, I've seen in bigger clients, they understand that this cost is actually an investment, and it costs them much more if they do not have a system for issuing AVBs, for example. When they have an order, we actually import all the orders from all the websites. You can have 10 web shops connected to our system. You can have a single interface where you have all the orders that you need to ship. And you can select all the orders and with a click issue the invoices, issue the AVBs for sending, and you can print everything at once. We can even set up a printer which prints automatically every order that comes in, the invoice automatically issued, and the AVB automatically generated. So there's a lot of options to, we can automate things for small clients, and we have solutions for bigger clients. A small client doesn't need all this stuff. They usually think, well, I'm happy to have 5 invoices per day. And the challenge is here, they don't understand the importance of not doing it by hand, but implementing from the very beginning a system that allows them to grow. And usually they get stuck. They actually end up having 10 orders that they need to pack. You can pack 10 orders per day. It's not a problem. However, if Black Friday comes and you end up having 100 orders, you're going to end up shipping to the wrong address, to the wrong client, not shipping, not including things in the box. And having a small investment per month in any software, not just the importance is that you need to invest in a software which gives you a system. You will be able to control the growth, and we will be allowed to grow. This is the key. Actually, this investment is the key to having an automated system that will help you instead of keeping you in place. And this is, I think, the challenge that we have with new clients, making them understand the importance of this 50 euros or 100 euros, how much, depends. We have options from 10 euros per month to 200 euros per month. Depends on the client and how many points of sale they have, and etc. You also had a question.
Everybody knows this is a inspiration workshop. Could you ask what was your motivation or your drive to start your business?
It wasn't the money, no. I was working in a GSM shop unlocking phones, and after a year I felt like I can do more. I needed to go places, and I needed to have more activity and organize stuff. Actually, I just love organizing, and I also love programming. Even now, I do work of programming in my company because I just love it. Whenever I'm stressed, I sit down, put the headphones on, and I start typing. And that's for the sculpture, he can go on a weekend and sculpt something, and that relaxes him. For me, in a weekend, I can start programming, and it relaxes me. Actually, it was a hobby, and I'm one of the lucky ones to say that I make money from my hobby. So it's not, I do not go to work on Monday, I go to do my hobby every single Monday. And I never thought of Monday, so I see these posts on social media. It's Friday and let's go have a drink. And oh yeah, it's again Monday. I hate that. For me, it never represented anything, but okay, it's a work day, but for me, it's a fun day because new challenges come every single day. Business Online Control Panel. It was invented in 2009, and we got stuck with that name. It's a pretty long name. No, the company is called Real Life, serially. Now we also branded under Cloud Sales or Cloud ERP or Cloud Mart for our e-commerce platform or Cloud Bill for the billing software or Cloud Jest for the inventory software. We have about 10 websites now because we have so many domains to cover. We created a website for every single one of them.
Buy your company, like Smartbill, or I know.
They never approached us, and I wouldn't sell because I still like it. It's fun.
And what technologies do you use?
PHP and MySQL.
PHP, I thought about it.
Is the simplest. I started that because mainly in 2008 there weren't many platforms for frameworks for such things. Many came along. At each moment we considered switching to a newer platform, but there wasn't any client to pay for that. It wouldn't have been a visible thing to switch to a new platform. And even now we would have switched 3 platforms already during the years. So we are stuck with our own platform currently. It's a custom platform and it's working. We upgrade it every single day. We have about 10 or 20 new things coming out or bugs corrected. Even bugs from 5 years ago.
If you would have the opportunity to change the PHP and to do in another language, what would that be?
I wouldn't, because it's a personal limitation. I've been specializing in PHP for over 10 years. I know it best. For now, to start learning a whole new framework just to change, it would be another 5-year investment. I don't think it's worth changing just for the change. If there are actually benefits to changing to another platform, then it's worth it. But first question is, who's going to pay for that? And is there going to be a big difference in the product itself, in the software? Like, is it going to go better or faster? Or we have to balance this. Any other questions? Who here has a company? And do you use any software right now? I imagine. Who doesn't have a company? Who intends to start a company in the next few months or a year? Okay. It takes a week to start a company. I can recommend 1 or 2 software to help. Okay. So my over 100,000 euros. It's not a lot, but we also had a few staff, so it's a small business. Our main purpose wasn't to make a lot of money. We started automating ourselves in the past year, so we actually digitalized more clients than ourselves. Because we digitalized the sales process and we provide services. But we also have developed for ourselves our customer relationship, which has leads, new clients. When they come in, we register in our system, we have internal tasks. And the shoemaker always has the worst shoes. It's the same thing. Okay, if there's no other questions, then I would like to thank you for the attention and wish you the best today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andras, for the presentation.